Hi, Elise. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you. Let's get straight into it. One thing I'm going to ask you to do when you submit your essays is to also just paste the image into your document so that I can refer to it in my corrections, okay? It makes it really helpful. Let's take a look at what you did here with the shoes. The bar chart shows the amount of black and brown leather shoe sales in 2018 in 10 European countries. Okay, here, just make sure you put a colon. I like that you did this. That was smart. This way, you make sure that we know all the categories. So even if you don't mention them in any detail later, we at least know what some of the key features of this are, or all of the key features. So that's good. Let's see what you said after that. In total, 4 of the 10 countries presented sold more brown leather shoes, while the other 6 were able to sell more black leather shoes. Regarding brown leather shoes, Poland sold the most, over 130,000. Careful, did you see how there were those 3 zeros in the description? That means that all the numbers are in the thousands. So it should have been over 130,000 pairs, followed closely by Germany and Hungary. Okay, in contrast, black leather shoes had their peak of selling. It's not really a peak, but okay. A better word would have been maybe in contrast, black leather shoes were most sold in Hungary, Italy, Belgium, and the UK, respectively. You don't need to use respectively here because you're not referring to any numbers. If you had said, had their peak sales, yeah, that would have been good actually, had their peak sales in Hungary, Italy, and Belgium and the UK with 140, 120, 110, and 100,000 respectively, then that would have made sense. But you didn't refer to any numbers, so you don't need respectively here. Moreover, it is possible to observe that Hungary and Italy's apostrophe S selling pattern was broadly similar since both sold over 100,000 pairs of each type of shoe. Overall, the majority of the country sold over 50,000 pairs of brown leather shoes, except Belgium, which sold less than 10. All countries but France sold more than 50 pairs of black leather shoes. Okay, so this is what I meant. This is why I really need the image. I want to go over it with you, so just give me a second. I'm going to pull it up. All right, so it's not the best image that I could find, but it will do the job. So first of all, one of the things you decided to do is you decided to put your overview at the end. Some people do that, and there is no rule one way or another saying whether you have to put it in the beginning or in the end. Personally, I have certain strategic reasons why I suggest putting it right after your introduction. But like I said, you don't have to. It is a good idea for the reasons that I said. I have some strategic reasons why. If you run out of time, you can at least ensure that you have included it. And this way you can, at the very least, get a 6, okay? So that's one of the reasons why. I'm not going to get into it now. But I would have included it in the right after the introduction. And let's talk about what an overview needs to include. An overview needs to essentially show the main thing, the thing that's really obvious, okay, in what you're looking at. So if this is the image you had, there are a few things that really stand out. You could have said something like the most black shoes were sold in, or the most shoes sold were of black leather in Hungary, and the least shoes sold were brown leather in Belgium. That would have been a good overview. It's fine, no problems. You could have also said that while no specific trend was apparent, brown shoes appeared to be marginally more popular, maybe. Okay? So you could have said that. But as you notice, there was no data. There was no specific number or figure in my overview. And that's something you need to remember. That's what makes it an overview. It's showing you the main idea, the main trend, without getting into any detail. Okay? The detail then belongs in your paragraphs, in your detail paragraphs. So let's talk about them a little bit. In something like this, there are a handful of ways to do it. There's not just one way. The way I always suggest is to have a paragraph about black leather shoes and then a paragraph about brown leather shoes. So how would I organize it? Well, I would use these numbers along the side as my guide. I would start off by saying that 3 countries all sold between 100 and 150,000 black leather shoes. Of these, Hungary sold the most with approximately 140,000. Okay. The other 2 countries were Italy and Belgium, which sold slightly less. The least black leather shoes were sold in France with 35,000. And the remaining countries, and you can name them if you want, if you haven't done that already, but you don't have to if you've already included them in introduction. The remaining countries all sold between 50 and 100,000 black leather shoes. Then you can do something very similar with your brown leather shoe paragraph. Here you can say, in contrast, 4 countries sold over 100,000. More specifically, here, Poland sold the most at 135,000. Germany and Hungary equally sold 130,000 pairs of brown leather shoes each. And Italy rounded up the top 4 with just over 100,000. All right, and then you can point out this number here, which is really interesting. You could say Belgium sold the least shoes of any country, any type, with just over 5,000 brown leather shoes sold. And that's really it. There's not a lot you have to do after that. But you can see I covered the important things. I covered the outliers. So I covered the highs, I covered the lows, and then all of this kind of like not really important detail in the middle. I didn't really include it. You don't have to. You know that other countries that I did not mention are all between this range here. So IELTS Task 1 is about what you include, but it's also about what you don't include. And knowing which information is important and what needs to be highlighted and what information doesn't need to be highlighted. All right, so by kind of smushing them all together and saying that the rest of the country sold between 50 and 100,000, I'm giving you enough information, but not saddling you down with too much. Okay, so that's why I suggest doing this. Let's take a look at what else you sent us. Okay, so traditional foods being replaced by fast food. Here's what you wrote. Experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated the impact of fast food as a replacement for traditional food. Some believe that eating processed industrial food has negative repercussions not only for individuals but also for families and society. Personally, comma here, I personally agree with the previous statement. I firmly agree with the previous statement. The essay will argue that a country's traditional dishes, careful here, this should be Y apostrophe S, that a country's traditional dishes have great importance in different levels of its society. In order to demonstrate that, examples from the United States of America, government, and the International Monetary Fund will be presented. All right, so far this is lovely. I really like this. You've done a really good job of restating. You've done a really good job of saying that, traditional important, this statement I thought was great. Traditional dishes have a great importance in different levels of society, so that's perfect. So far, I feel like you've really grasped what's important here, and I'm excited to read what you have to say after this. So, on the one hand, there's ample evidence that eating fast food instead of traditional food is not beneficial for people. The central reason behind this is threefold. Firstly, it is not healthy on an individual level. Secondly, when families stop cooking and eating proper meals together, they might not create an emotional bond. Thirdly, when society starts replacing their own food for an industrial one, part of their culture is being lost. You could have just said is lost. For example, extensive research, don't put an and here because research is uncountable. So you can say a study, but you don't say a research, okay? So it's just extensive research by the USA government, one of the world's largest fast food consumers, showed that over 65% of their citizens do not believe the country has a traditional meal. Thus, it's possible to state beyond doubt that countries where traditional foods are being replaced by fast food have been suffering negative impacts. Okay, so let's talk about what's really good here, and let's talk about what needs a little work. What's really good here is your grammar, your vocabulary. All that is really, really lovely. It's a pleasure to read. It reads really smoothly, so that's really nice. It's got a nice fluency to it. What needs a little work is your task achievement. Typically, I don't recommend threefold. Twofold is enough. And in fact, any time you write a paragraph, you really don't need more than two main ideas. I understand here, I get it. This one says individuals, family, and society. There are still ways of doing that where you don't have to like present three specific reasons. I'll show you what I mean. So, but it's not just that. Um, what I want to tell you is that you need to develop each one of these. What you did here is you basically gave us a list, like firstly, secondly, thirdly, and then you gave us this piece of research. That's not enough. Anytime you have a main idea, you need to support it. So you said it's not healthy on an individual level. Okay, you could say something like studies have found that individuals who eat fast food more than 4 times a week have higher level of cholesterol, higher level of high blood pressure, etc., etc. Okay, therefore it is not good for them. Then this too was good. I like this. They stop cooking and eating. They might not create an emotional bond. It has been shown that families that eat together communicate more and have stronger emotional bonds than those who don't. So, really, just something that simple and straightforward. You still need to do it. You need to take it a step further from just presenting, and you need to take it to a point where you're explaining, you're developing, you're giving an example, you're illustrating, you're giving just a little extra information. Okay? And what you could have done here is rather than saying thirdly, you could have said that both these issues affect society in that much of culture is lost when families do not eat together. And also, the economy suffers when the government has to pay for medical bills of an unhealthy population. All right, so that's really all you needed to do here. Also, I want you to watch your paragraphing. I know you hit enter here and you almost, I don't know if you meant this to be its own paragraph or not. I'm not really sure, but make sure that your blocks of text are really clear because paragraphing is important in task 2. All right, let's see what you did here. On the other hand, the positive impact of the existence of fast foods franchises cannot be denied. This is largely because they boost the country's economy through market trading and by generating jobs, which enriches the government. No, you didn't say government, I did. Which enriches the country and benefits the society. For instance, a recent empirical study by the IMF demonstrated that globally, fast food generates revenue of overall $570 billion. Consistent with line of thinking is the idea of fast food being beneficial to society on some level. All right, let's talk about this in 1 minute. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that humanity's health, well-being, and cultural values should be prioritized over money. Lovely. It is predicted the I don't think you mean the redeem. You mean the redemption? Maybe the retention, the maintenance, the oh goodness, what word are you thinking of? It is predicted the I don't know. I'm not sure what you're thinking of. I tried. It is predicted that traditional food will I don't know, will continue to exist in many countries and it will increasingly grow in importance. Maybe this is what you meant. Okay. So let's talk about this a little bit. You told me that you firmly agree, and you talked about why all this is bad, and that's fine. What I didn't really agree with was the order of your paragraphs. One thing that some IELTS tutors will tell you, and I am one of them, is that when you're going to present both sides of the argument, the side you don't agree with needs to come first. Because it's the weaker of the two. It's the side you don't support. So you want to put the strong argument, the strong side, the strong paragraph, you want to put that closer to your conclusion. All right, you want that to be the one that remains with the reader. So I would reverse these. Okay, that's one thing I would have done. The other thing I would have done is I would have made it really clear why you are telling me that fast food has benefits. Let's talk about that. It says to what extent do you agree or disagree. So you could decide to 100% agree, 100% disagree, or kind of agree, disagree, half and half, or something like that. You told me you firmly agree. So there's really no reason to include a concession paragraph, okay? Because it didn't ask you to argue both sides. So an examiner could potentially say, Alicia, why are you talking about the positive aspects of fast food when you've told me that firmly you'd agree that it's bad? What you need to do if you decide to put a paragraph in like this is you need to make it clear in your introduction. So, what you could say is, personally, while there are certain benefits to fast food, on the whole, I firmly agree that it is negative. Okay, so look what you even said here. I will argue that countries' traditional dishes have great importance in different levels of its society. Yeah, but you never said, I'm also going to tell you why fast food is great for the economy. Okay, your introduction, remember, it has to kind of prepare us for what we're going to read in the paragraphs that follow. So you could have done several things. You could have, like I said, indicated in your introduction that, look, yeah, I see certain benefits to this. It's money, it's jobs, it's, all that. Or you could have not written about the benefits of fast food, and you could have instead said, one paragraph about family and individuals, and then another paragraph talking about, what all of this means for society. All right, or something along those lines, okay? Or you could have had a paragraph talking about the individual and how that affects society, and another paragraph talking about the family and more broadly how that affects society. So there are a lot of different options that you can select here, okay? I want you to think about some of them. As you move along in the course and write us more essays, okay? I liked a lot of what I saw. I liked a lot of your fluency. All that was really, really lovely. So you're definitely on the right track. You're starting at a great point because your language level is really quite good. But let's try to work on some of these issues of organization of your paragraphs and also the task achievement portion as well, okay? So go ahead, correct these, return them back to us, and I'll be waiting for your next set. Good luck.